Songs like Owner of a Lonely Heart. And over the age of music videos, this band was pioneering what was then the new sound of progressive rock. By taking fundamental rock and roll and mixing it with classical or jazz, they helped to create a whole new genre of rock music.
You can tell your mama, she'd only tell her that she told you so. The life you lead it, she won't believe the ridiculous life we all know.
By the mid-70s, their music was labeled as pop rock by critics who were not convinced that rock and roll basics should be tampered with. However, audiences loved their expansive sound and high harmony vocals, keyed by John Anderson's angelic leads. Rock historians would be hard-pressed to find a band that changed its members as many times as the band Yes. Altogether, 12 musicians passed through 9 incarnations of the band in 23 years. With the release of the Union LP, the 8 most predominant members of Yes joined together, tying up a long history of loose ends.
I remember the first time.
It was in England in 1968 that the band first began. And just like The Who and the Rolling Stones before them, Yes would blast off from London's legendary Marquee Club.
Every little thing she does for me, yeah.
We all met in a club in London called the Chess Club, which is where really we all hung out. It was 2 doors down from the Marquee, and suddenly there was Chris, and suddenly there was John.
Yes, it was the Chas Club, and he was at one end of the bar and I was at the other. I was cleaning up the bar every day and earning $10 a week or $15 a week.
We just met each other in this bar and just started talking about music and what did we like, and we agreed that we liked Simon and Garfunkel and the Association, and we were kind of very entrepreneurial.
Well, they called me or something. I think they responded to an ad of mine, I think. And we met in a bar in Soho, you know, and they said, well, we really like Vanilla Fudge and Fifth Dimension. I said, yeah, that's great. I love that too. I had no idea what that was. Never met either of those 2 guys, whoever they were. So I agreed with everything, of course, and said, this is absolutely going to be great. Let's play.
Anderson, Squire, Bruford, and Kay teamed up with guitarist Peter Banks, and together they would become the band's first lineup. In keeping with the utopian spirit of the late 60s, they named themselves Yes.
I remember the Marquee, really. It was the starting off point for us. We got the residency, the Tuesday night residency.
We were on pretty much 48 hours standby notice, you know, like a fire crew. You know, that when somebody could find a decent gig, we'd go and do that. Never had any vacation. Everybody just waited around for the phone to ring, like a fire crew. It was horrible, absolutely horrible. I can't think of a worse existence. But at 18, people do this stuff, you know.
So we ended up playing at the Albert Hall. It almost became like a residency to us. We played there on the Farewell Cream concert, and then we were back there for some other benefit, and then we did the Janis Joplin show. I think the Cream one was probably the most, well, at that time, I suppose, it was kind of enthusiastic rock crowd we played to.
It was on November 26, 1968 that Yes got their first big break, opening up for one of rock's first supergroups, Cream. Cream, featuring 26-year-old guitarist Eric Clapton, packed London's Royal Albert Hall. The show was called Cream's Farewell to London. Eventually, it was this same concept of virtuoso further. The founding members had released Yes and Time in a Word, but shortly thereafter, guitarist Peter Banks would become the first of what would be an ongoing series of personnel changes. Banks' replacement, Steve Howe, would prove pivotal in the group's.
I got the call from Chris and John, you know, both seeing you in Tomorrow and this group Bodas, so, you know, have that coming down and playing. So it was pretty straightforward, and it was the kind of thing I was waiting to happen. First album came and went, very well received, but nobody bought it. Second album came and went, not so well received, and nobody bought it, and we're starting to run.
Oh, honeymoon was over, and if this didn't make it, they were going to drop us. And that woman.
In a farmhouse down in, impressed by how well the other groups seemed to be doing, but we weren't doing very well, and I think we organised Yours Is No Disgrace down there, maybe.
With the infusion of Steve Howe's playing place, the album would deliver the band the success that had up to then escaped them. The album would break through onto the American charts. The success of the Yes album prompted the band members to look closely at their situation.
Of course, there was this Academy guy called Rick Wakeman who played really well and looked really good, you know, and kind of very tall and kind of slim and very youthful and looked very happening. So we thought we'd better have him.
A lot of good stuff had been written about Yes and about what it was trying to do, and about that they wanted to move into this orchestral rock realm, and they really wanted to do things that the technology and the instruments at the time, you know, wouldn't allow them to do.
I remember a sense of loss when I left the band, but we were young, and it seemed that that it was this band was going to happen, but also we were going to happen.
So Tony got the chop, and you could see what was happening, you know. The band just got better musicians all the time, and as most groups did in those days, you just kicked out the guy you started with and got a better guy. Terrible, isn't it? Terrible, but true.
The very first rehearsal I ever went to, we put Roundabout and Heart of the Sunrise together in one afternoon. And I remember that to my dying day. I mean, it was astonishing.